So isn't it great we're getting together to talk about design thinking? Because really we work in different places. It's so nice to actually have some time to come together.
It is good, actually.
Yeah.
Ready? Okay. So Natalie, what does a novice need to know about design thinking?
I think a novice really needs to understand that they need to be comfortable being uncomfortable in this situation. I think a lot of people who are not using their creative mindset on a daily basis might feel uncomfortable, maybe sketching and making prototypes and really using their visual thinking skills. But I think once you let go of that, you're okay. I think also assuming a beginner's mindset is really important, because we're all experts in our own areas, but to, I guess, make design thinking happen in a way that produces innovative solutions, you really need to let go of that and really think about the user and not your own role in that particular process. I think listening is really important too. You've got to listen to others and not judge others. So I think those things are really important when you're embracing this sort of thinking.
It's really about creating that safe space, isn't it?
Yeah.
A safe space for being creative.
Take some risks.
Take some
Be
risks.
experimental.
And also it's exciting, because you're learning what other people think as well as their needs of the users. Like you're getting those different perspectives in terms of, oh, that's very interesting, and being curious about it a bit more. I like your listening. I think it's sort of listening, and it's listening with your eyes as well. It's not just listening with your ears. It's, okay, what's happening with this? How are they feeling when they're telling me this? Are they excited? Are they worried? Are they frightened? Yeah, it's a whole of body experience in a way, isn't it? Design thinking.
I like your point about learning from the experience. It's not just sort of thinking, oh, this is a bit of a creative,
fairy floss or something.
Throwaway. It's really
very
learning
rich.
a lot more about the processes involved in what you do as a clinician.
It's funny you say that, because it made me think that people think, oh, design thinking, it's just some post-its and some group conversations, but actually it's so much more. So much more. It's that taking risks. It's the beginner's mindset. And then it's actually pushing forward with some really listening to others and putting down any assumptions that you might have.
Absolutely.
Just the point that you were
making. The great
making.
beginner's mindset. Yes, that really put away your assumptions. You're really totally immersing in this experience and what's it like for that person.
You can learn so much.
The other thing is just being focused on the user.
Indeed.
Or the users.
Yes, yes.
And so you're not thinking about any other functional things that happen at that particular point. You're really honing in on what's important, the feelings, the emotions of people that are going to be using that service.
So stepping out of being the clinician and being the one in charge, and stepping into what is it like to be the patient, to be the carer, to be the consumer, and how can I redesign that experience from that lens. And actually, sometimes you'll have to step into the clinician lens and look at how can I redesign the service or experience or process. That's really valuable.
The other thing too that I think is great about this process is the transdisciplinarity of it. So I found working with clinicians, they loved the idea of working with designers and different professionals to come up with these new ideas. So I think that's the beauty.
I'd agree. They get really excited because they really know what some of the challenges are, and they're used to using their analytical skills. Really, while they think about it, it's the doing, I think, which is the exciting part of design thinking. So
that's a good point, actually. And Yvonne's great at doing. But I think she really galvanised people around doing. And particularly in the projects I worked on as well, there was a lot of doing and people really got excited and motivated.
It's about seeing the impact of what you're doing, because we are talking about design thinking, and design thinking is important, but it's just one step in the process. We can do a lot of thinking and a lot of group conversation, but then we've got to take that insight and translate it into, I like to call it design doing. That actual
and really
visual change.
It's a misnomer, I reckon, design thinking. It's about the way designers think and work, but it's about doing it. And I think it's
a misnomer. It's brilliant.
It's thinking while doing.
Yes, but always the doing.
we should rename this design doing, or it's a designerly way of approaching problems.
Yes, which is doing. Yeah, it's not just thinking. Yeah.
So we really need to go on to the other question, which is...
So what do you think is the most surprising thing about design thinking?
I think it's a really, truly inclusive approach. So it's involving all the people that are involved in a particular process or a strategy or communication tool. And that really allows people to get involved in what way they feel they can contribute. Having worked with educators doing this process, I find that some people are uncomfortable doing some of it, but then they really embrace, say, the visualisation or the prototyping. So it has something for everyone to be involved, and that makes it really inclusive. I think it's really surprising how quickly people can come up with ideas when you focus their attention on the human-centred problem. When they're thinking about people, they really get involved, and they really, when you put people under pressure, they can come up with amazing ideas in a short time.
A well-run design thinking session can result in some amazingly innovative ideas and solutions.
Indeed. In fact, in some ways, that's one of the most surprising things about the time they've spent doing something different, thinking and working in a different way with different people.
Yes.
Because I'm used to seeing people who are used to working with the analytical skills. And so when they have a problem, they want to get to a solution straight away. And so they find it hard to just, immerse yourself in the situation, understand the whole context. What is it that people are thinking and feeling? But they do it, as you say. I mean, within a morning session.
You can see that change, and you can see people are converted. They're like, there was some kind of almost magic.
Yes. And a freeing up in a way. All those idea generation processes they might have used in different contexts together. It's much more exciting.
And then translating that into change or change initiative and walking away feeling as a collaborative, we can solve this problem. This is a wicked challenge facing us, and all of a sudden we've got all these great ideas that we've seen because we've prototyped them. And we've thought about, we've identified the next 5 bold steps we've got to take, or whatever methodology. It's powerful.
So empowering, in fact, isn't it?
It's actually a better word than powerful. It's empowering.
And it's also fun.
Exactly.
Which we were
so
running the CQ Fellows workshops, it was so great to see all of these people galvanising around ideas and having fun in the process. So it's not, this serious problem that needs to be, well, it is a serious problem, but it's turned into something that can be
the process really is enjoyable. And impactful.
And they found that surprising.
Yes, I think so.
They did. Come along to a workshop. What are we going to do? Hello, why is this such fun?
Exactly.
So innovating.
Creating change and innovation can be fun.
Indeed. So, and should be fun.
Yeah, that should be fun. So why should a clinician engage with design thinking?
I think the whole process allows clinicians to really understand and communicate with their patients and staff a lot better, because they're thinking about that empathetic mindset. And so therefore you're going to have better clinical outcomes from that. I also think it's really important for medical staff to see things from diverse points of view, because that can really transform ideas and innovations in a way that wouldn't happen if you're just focused on the process that is at the moment. I also think building a team around thinking about a problem is really powerful for clinicians. So they can really be leaders in their field and learn a lot of extra skills that helps them really galvanise those teams and build those collaborative processes that they can use on a daily basis.
I mean, you've really touched on this, but I think the design thinking process gives clinicians a chance to kind of put down their day-to-dayness, like delivering quality care. That's their task, and they're really focused on that. But it gives clinicians a chance to step back and focus on a broader kind of improvement agenda.
Absolutely.
Trying to figure out, okay, actually, how can I improve what I do? What services can I change? I think that's that opportunity to pause and be purposefully reflective on improvement. I think there's something really good in that.
Yeah, and reflecting on what they're doing and whether that's the right strategy.
Really or whether it's one of the right strategies, and maybe there are others. Because I think it's the richness, isn't it? As you said,
absolutely.
Working with different disciplines as well as different perspectives.
Yeah. I think also just using that creative mindset can be really rewarding. Because I think a lot of clinicians on a daily basis are using that highly analytical thinking, as you said before, Judy. And to step out of that for a little while and think differently can be quite empowering. It can be quite fun and really make their day really, I guess, a little bit more special.
Boost morale, which we need in these COVID times.
Always.
Absolutely.
Right. And I guess you've been working with clinicians for quite a while. What are some of the great outcomes that you've had?
Yeah, so, I mean, we worked with the CEQ fellows in the training workshop, and I think a great thing that came out of that was just seeing people really come together around problems and seeing that there's a really positive way to deal with them and coming up with great ideas that can then be taken forward as projects in their places of care. I think also having led the PICU partnership project, we used a lot of engagement strategies to really understand deeply what patients and families and staff as well were really finding a challenge in their environment. And the process actually really brought those people together better. They were really focused on patient-centred care, family-centred care. I think it actually improved that.
And enriched it somehow.
Absolutely, And seeing the team work with other professionals, I think, was fabulous. Really embracing different points of view and really allowing their staff to have a big part in this process.
That inclusive collaboration was very powerful, wasn't it?
Absolutely.
To be part of it and to see it. And you almost think, this is the new way forward. This is what's going to happen now. This is our new behaviours. And
exactly. That's a great point. In the PICU project, the metaphor that we came up with to guide some of the changes that we were going to make to the environment flowed through into how the staff were going to move forward with their administrative processes. It all kind of came together and really changed the way the staff interacted and how they were going to push forward to improve family-centred care. So that was really surprising for me to see how big that
which was your
that
building that
be.
morale as well, building our team, building our how do we go forward. That was very nice.
You know, in my experience, I've done a number of projects, and you can download the report and read some more detail about these projects. But one of them was with Ipswich Hospital, Westmoreton, looking at how to connect rehab care across 2 different hospitals. And one of the tools that we used was on post-it notes, everyone wrote down sort of myths, challenges, fears and hopes for a proposed change in how care would be delivered. And what really came through is that often we don't take the time to talk about those fears, to unearth them and actually narrow down, sort of focus on what are we afraid of. And we had people, write down what they, from their perspective as a clinician and also from the perspective of the patient or the consumer or the user. And there was some really great, I don't want to use the word healing, but there's a lot of clarity that came out.
And insights.
A lot of insights and some conversations that might have happened maybe behind closed doors or in corridors, sort of in secret moments, but actually flushing all that out and having a real honest conversation about what does this change mean for us? How are we going to deal with that? What are the kind of initiatives we can put in place to manage any kind of challenges? I think, using these kind of design-led approaches can have a real positive impact on staff morale.
Absolutely.
It can bring people together. I mean, and we can and we will talk about the kind of physical changes that can happen with design. Your background's interior design, and we've got architects and we've got kind of interactive and visual design. So we've developed, co-design, websites and apps and all those kind of things. And those are important. But equally important is the impact it can have on culture.
Yes, exactly.
You know,
new behaviours, new ways of
point.
working, inclusiveness, making time for each other.
Yeah.
And in some ways the structured process happens a bit with that. I think
it does.
That really guides it and shapes it.
Actually, we could see that in the workshop that I ran at the symposium.
Yeah, the big one.
We used a tool that you'd used previously in another project, which got everyone to think about some of the problems they wish they could change and really empower people to, get on board and get moving.
Yeah.
And then we also asked them to share those visions for the future, and then people could then connect with each other around those shared visions. I think that's really important to do initially when you're starting a project. And I know, Yvonne, you did that with a couple of projects where you really had to get everyone on board. Sometimes it's not easy to build a team.
Yeah, it's hard.
And so that,
having
to me, is really important.
Yeah,
so the empathy part is not only empathising with the users, but empathising with your team that's actually working on the project.
All those stakeholders, really.
And picking an improvement project that you want to work on together,
yes.
and then using and deploying skills that you don't even know that people have. Like, you can sit next to people for a really long time and not be aware that, actually they're an artist, or their brother-in-law is a filmmaker, and all of a sudden you've got this resource to draw on that you didn't even really realise to make change happen.
Yeah, I like what you said before about the conversation.
Yeah.
It really starts that conversation.
And it's a reality in any job, but particularly, in healthcare with busy professionals. But we have to make the time to have those conversations. Otherwise, change is not going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. We have to acknowledge the challenges of that.
That's right.
And make it happen, as you say.